All right, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we will be moving on to the next plenary session, the panel session. And this here will be looking at overcoming the technical challenges of providing sustainable 24/7 electricity supply.
And of course, we're taking us on the subject matter expert is the Executive Commissioner, Engineering and Standards, LASERC. Join me as I welcome Engineer Oluwaseun Fadare. Can we please applaud him?
Please put your hands together for him.
As he comes up, the subject expert for this session.
Also, we have Professor Barth Nnaji, who is the Chairman, Geometric Power. Please put your hands.
Can we please applaud him? And of course, we'll be inviting the panelists for this session. We have the former MD TCN. Join me as I welcome Mr. Usman Muhammad. Can we applaud him? We also have the CEO Ikeja Electric, Folake Soetan. We also have the CEO Eco Electric Disco. Join me as I welcome Rekiat Momoh. We also have the CEO Worldwide Impact Energy Solutions Limited, Engineer Sunday Oyewole. And of course, the moderator for this session. The CEO LASERC, please give it up for Dr. Fouad Animashaun. Can we please put our hands together for this next panel? And of course, the moderator. We can encourage them, please. Thank you.
Very important discussions here today. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for us. And of course, the panel, the third panel for the day.
Okay, so good afternoon. Media, can I have my presentation, please? Media, can I have my presentation? Huh? Is it with you? Okay, so so while media is still trying to bring up my presentation, so I'm actually supposed to just briefly, within 5-10 minutes, just talk about how to maintain and achieve 3 minutes. Oh yeah, okay, that's even better for me. How to achieve a 24/7, electricity supply in Lagos State sustainably. My first slide would have actually talked about where we are, about on the 14th of February, I think we had our peak generation so far, but that's history now. And, I realized that in the power sector, basically, technically, we have 3 major problems. I would say generation, transmission, distribution. We do not have enough capacity. So in one of my slides, I highlighted some of the problems of these sectors, inadequate capacities, gas supply challenges, aging infrastructures, technical losses, funding, and so on and so forth. My task here is really not to talk about the problems. I think the problems are well documented. The problems are well known, well researched. And I think that everybody agrees that if we are going to be a 247 community, if we are going to be a 247 electricity market, we will have to upgrade, we would have to improve on this capacity. So that is not in contention. What I would like really to emphasize on are the things that I call the soft issues. And one of them, you know, if I would allow to say it here, is our inertia, the inertia system on the grid. So if you look at the grid, for those who operate the grid regularly, you realize that the energy, the frequency excursions on the grid is very high. We have one of the most terrible excursions. So you sit down in a control room, you're on 51 hertz. In the next 3 seconds, you're on 50 hertz. In the next 2 seconds, you're on 49 hertz. I mean, this kind of excursion does not allow you to run the grid sustainably. It gives the operators of the grid a lot of difficulty in operating the grid. My slides are still not here, but I'll keep going. So what I said is that we need to improve. So the inertia of the system is what gives you the ability to balance frequency. You know, so when you have a high frequency, and it does that by, you know, tampering with the kinetic energy of your system, of your units, of your whatever you are using to generate, if it's a rotary engine. So I think that if Nigeria, and indeed if Lagos, is going to achieve sustainability, we must do what I call, you know, we must ensure that the grid is resilient. And for the grid to be resilient, we must improve on the inertia of the grid. A situation where you have excursions on the grid should not be allowed in the Lagos grid. So I have highlighted a few of the things that we should do. I won't read it because of my time. One of the other things I said is that we must optimize our energy mix. I know that Prof actually said that we have gas, and to be honest with you, we have gas and we have it in abundance. But the truth is that we are standing the risk factor in using majority of our units to be thermal plants is high. Somebody said it today. We have one gas line from Escravos to Lagos. I tell you, if you strategically locate yourself on that pipeline, something happens to that pipeline. Oh, thank you. So you go to the next slide. So optimal energy mix. Thank you very much. So if you locate yourself on that EPS line, you know, you have cut off almost 30% of our generation. On the EPS line is about 7 to 8 plants. And, you know, we need to diversify that mix. And today I'm saying that, you know, for us to have a 247 electric generating markets, you know, we must look at how, you know, there are various ways to generate electricity. We concentrate too much on thermal. Yes, we have gas in abundance, but we need to ensure that we optimize all the other resources that we have in the country. Next slide, please. I think the next thing I talked about is the energy storage system. One of the ways you can even regulate the grid, you know, the frequency is the energy storage. When you have a high frequency, you need to keep some of those energy and store it. And then when you have low generation and low frequency, you need to put it back to the grid. And I've basically highlighted some of the energy storage systems that we have. I mean, people will talk about the battery energy system. That's the most common one. But we have a lot. You have a lot. And, you know, we need to be innovative enough to consider some of these systems and ensure that we don't just focus on one storage system. Next slide, please. Media, I'm still waiting. All right, so standard and compliance. So, you know, I figured out that, look, at the end of the day, we're going to have enough generation, enough transmission, enough distribution. But when I look at where we are today, I think that we have a lot of other soft issues. Aging of our power plants, aging of infrastructure is one of them. But if you look at the tariff model, there's always a cost for operations and maintenance. Now, I think that to ensure that we are sustainable 24/7, we need to have regulations, we need to have instruments that would enforce that the players, the participants in the market adhere strictly to a maintenance regime, a maintenance program. Look, if I ask people, if your transformer packs up today, how many months, how many days does it take to replace your transformer? I'm sure the answer will be between maybe 2 to 5 years or 10 years. But that should not be. Every transformer has a life cycle. Before that transformer life cycle expires, you should have a replacement because we have been paying for it gradually. So we're going to look at, and I think that we should have a system that makes this possible, that makes people who have been gradually collecting the money every month accountable to have spares and to have, replacement for these aging parts. Next slide, please. All right, so capacity development. Here I talked about, you probably would not be able to do anything without adequate manpower, capacity development. For a country that has just generated above 5,000 megawatts and plans to do about 30, 40,000 megawatts, that is a multiplication of capacity. So we must have a program that begins to train, that begins to expose. Most people we have in the industry today are learning by induction. You see somebody do it, you just watch what he's doing, and you do it. The science behind how he's doing it, what he's doing, you probably cannot tell. So we should, as a matter of policy, drive the continuous improvement, the continuous upscaling of capacity, so that by the time, because we don't have to wait till we get to 5,000, 10,000, 20, before we realize that, there's nobody to use this, to run these units for us. Spirits will not run it, robots will not run it, human beings will run it. And we need to, even at the level of partnering with universities, we can do something, but we must have a concentrated effort, to ensure that we keep upscaling the capacity. Next slide, please. So I just gave strategic action plan. I'm done. This is the last slide. And I have them as open system planning. You have a metering gap. You have to close the metering gap. You have to ensure that, there's always an improvement plan in place. You support development of electricity markets, state electricity markets, accelerate technology. Look, this I put there intentionally. And I think that, look, there are a lot of schemes out there that somebody has to try. I mean, gas turbines basically literally fire on hydrogen these days. Somebody has to do the pilot. Somebody has to invest in that, And I think that if we do some of these things, we will be able to prepare the ground for the next generation so that as one plant is getting old, we are already sure of what next we're going to do. Thank you. I think this should be the last slide. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Engineer Fadare, for that nice presentation. I want to thank everyone for still being here and bearing with us. We're pressed for time. We will try as much as possible to speed this up, and each panelist here will have just one question. And I pray this gives them the opportunity to be able to expatiate what their thoughts exactly are. So, what are we discussing here? Overcoming the technical challenges of providing sustainable 24/7 power in any power sector value chain. apart from the fuel source, the key aspect to this is generation. Generation takes about 60% of the overall value chain and the tariff. So rightfully so, my first question will go to Professor Barth Nnaji, with your extensive experience in the sector and with your understanding of the sector as regards the fact that you run Aba Geometric. My question to you is, could you outline the primary technical challenges you see in electricity generation within Lagos and its surrounding areas, and what are the key related fuel supply, plant maintenance, and need for diversification that will be required for this? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First, let me use the, I hope this thing. This is so, I see that Lagos State is going towards the sort of model that we have in Aba, where you should have embedded power within the distribution company or companies in the case of Lagos, and perhaps even sub-discos that will emerge. And for this to happen, the power plants must be efficient. One of the issues will have to be fuel. I imagine that it's going to be largely gas-fired. So the fuel supply in Nigeria now has serious challenges. We've talked about that, and I think that everybody understands that we have large reserve of natural gas, but we are simply not mining the natural gas enough. Earlier, someone talked about domestic gas obligation, which is very important. But the domestic gas obligation, the people who produce gas try to find ways of signing documents, but not actually following through. So we have a lot of challenges with that. So being able to address the issue of the molecule production is critical. And I'm glad that the gas master plan should be, that's going to be signed, but incentivized. The people who are going to invest must be incentivized to actually take the deep dive in production of the molecule. Then the transportation infrastructure, there should be improvement in the main trunk lines, and also then allow companies to be able to do spurs. That is what Geometric Power did. We built a 27-kilometer gas pipeline from the gas production facility of SPDC, now HES and NNPC. And that 27-kilometer gas pipeline should not be an investment of a power producer. But we had to do it to ensure that we have reliability. And I imagine that in Lagos here, you're going to have a whole lot of spurs from the trunk line. Typically anywhere from 6-inch to 12-inch gauge line would be just be sufficient. But the fuel itself must come. The fuel must come and then must be reliably delivered. Quality is another one, the quality of fuel. What you can't, because the power plants tend to be sensitive, you cannot have off-spec gas, because once you have off-spec gas, you're going to have serious problem with the machine. So the metering system, the gas measurement system, the quality measurement system, all those things must be properly there for all of your fuel supply system. Now, generation. The in-between between your power plant and your distribution and the distribution infrastructure. I'm glad to hear that EKEDC now has a SCADA system. If they do, that's something that we have. And that's something that the national grid, the national power system, UG Mohammed is here, so he will probably talk about that. But it is very important to have the SCADA because that's how you can monitor and automatically ensure that, that the system is able to have loading management within the infrastructure. This is very, very important, whether it is national grid or whether it is regional grid here. So the power generation has all these sensitivities that should be there. For all the power producers, it is going to be important not to just have one turbine, but to have N+, so that you're able to effectively manage the power generation. I think really the only other thing I want to mention is the issue of financing of power, because to build a power plant is very expensive. For gas-fired, about 1.5, given Nigeria's situation, $1.5 million per megawatt. Given that situation, who is going to provide the guarantee? Well, in the days of old, it was federal government. Now, the states would have to do it. So, but the states are not really going to be able to say they provide a guarantee. It should come from the discos. So, which means credit-worthy discos should come in place. And I would say that EKEDC, Ikeja disco are getting more and more to be credit-worthy so that they should be able to buy power directly. I think that is very, very important. That's what we are doing already in Aba. We are directly able to even buy various components that we need on credit. And that is because if you're able to pay, people will be able to trust you with the business. Let me just stop here because we have so many issues, but I think I will just stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor, for that. I understand basically the appropriate investments in the infrastructure is required, appropriate tariff for settlement of the market, because we are talking about a cost-reflective tariff here. Because whatever the investment is, it has to come back to the investor. But at the same time, we also want to deliver power supply appropriately to the customers, so they have to understand this. And a lot of equipment is being invested in. Having said that, I'll turn to Mr. Mohammed, the former MD TCN. There has been a lot of issues. The TCN always seems to come into the media. It is always one grid collapse after the other. And most of the time, we are always made to believe that the federal government has had appropriate investments in it and what the issues are. So the question I have for you is, what are the critical bottlenecks in the transmission infrastructure impacting the flow of electricity to Lagos and most of the other states? And how significant are the issues of grid stability and loss reduction? Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to commend Abiodun Ogule, whom I know for a long time. I think we came across each other when I was the member secretary of Revenue Cycle Management, and he was managing director of one of those companies that did Revenue Cycle. And even that time, I think he was the only Nigerian that was a managing director of one of the 9 Revenue Cycle contracts. And he did very well at that time. So I believe he will do well in Lagos also. Yes, you asked me about the grid issue and grid-related issue. You see, the main objective of power sector reform was actually to incentivize investment into the power sector, because government cannot invest on a sustainable basis. So the main objective is to open the power sector for private sector investment. But unfortunately, there are several mistakes that we did that has led us to the fact that the sustainable investment is not coming in. And that affects all the value chain, including the transmission company of Nigeria. So what we have now is like a vicious cycle. The people are not paying, and investment is not coming in, and we have stopped at a 4,000 megawatt, 5,000 megawatt for years. That is where we are. It will shock you, sir, to know that South Africa doesn't have the kind of bottlenecks that we have in Nigeria. Yes, they have energy issues, but they don't have the exact problem we have in Nigeria, like we have in Nigeria. It's not as bad as we have. But just last week, the deputy president of South Africa was addressing the parliament, and he confirmed that South Africa has built 4,000 kilometers of transmission line in the last 4 years. Nigeria, in the last 4 years, we have built 0 transmission line. So, and when they did this power sector reform, and they brought this issue of bringing in state to participate in the distribution company, I mean in the power sector, it means as if the federal government has abandoned its responsibility. So it means that we are not doing everything that we are supposed to do. But as you ask the question, what do we do to solve the bottleneck? You remember when we came in, we did the 20-year least cost transmission expansion plan, which was the first time it was done in Nigeria. That study is supposed to be reviewed every 5 years. So that study needs to be reviewed. Now, we came up with transmission rehabilitation and expansion program. That transmission rehabilitation and expansion program is supposed to put N-1 in all the existing substations. This is the minimum by international standard. You are supposed to have N-1. The implementation of that transmission rehabilitation expansion program is comatose now, because most of the major contracts have not even been signed as of today, when we have more than 5 years, it has not been signed. And the implementation plan of that project is supposed to be 5 years, and we have spent 5 years, most of the contract has not been signed. So we need to review that project and put N-1 in the existing substations. We are supposed to have transmission rehabilitation and expansion program phase 2. The phase 2 is supposed to put N-1 in all the existing lines. Now, what is the N-1? N-1 means that every substation that you have, every equipment that goes out, I mean, that substation is N. If you remove anything, whether in a transformer, and you remove one, it should not affect the supply of that place. That is what N-1. That implementation is not on track. That is one. We are supposed to have gone to TREP Part 2, that is Transmission Rehabilitation and Expansion Program Part 2, by 2020-2021. We are not there, sir. And Professor, I want to tell you, there are several power plants that, as of today, if there's for example, if there's a problem between Onitsha and Opai power plant is out. It can't generate. If there's a problem between Ikweta Bene and Calabar power plant is out. So the second phase of the transmission rehabilitation expansion program is to solve all those problems. But it has not been solved. So what I'm trying to say is that we, the state, the subnational, should push the federal government to do its own responsibility also. They shouldn't just say, we are going, because that responsibility is massive. Let me give you an example. The island that you are seeing here is supplied on the line from Egbin to Island. If there's a problem on that line, that means the whole of Island will be out. We did scoping study to connect Akamba to Ijora and build a 330 kV substation in Ijora, and the land was given. And then connect Ijora to Alagbon using multi-circuit tower. Because you have to remember, from Akamba, there is a line that went to Akoka. So you use the same line to do 330 and 132. We did the scoping study in 2020. Till date, nobody has done anything on it. such kind of line, what you need to do, you are supposed to do a comprehensive study, because you are going to put multi-circuit tower that will carry 2 type of line. So the state government need to push all this. We need to complete the line from Epe to Ikwa Atlantic. It's supposed to be from Epe to Aja. Aja cannot be used now because there are so many people have built houses around that place. So we have to use the coastal line. Till date, nothing is happening on it. So you have to push it. Now look at Lagos Ogun Transmission Project. They're supposed to relieve Ikeja, some of those areas between Ikeja and Ogun, like places like Ajegule, places like Mountain on Fire, Ogijo, and even Badagry. We are supposed to put substations there. We have the finance. We finished the study when I was MD. We have finished everything. Till date, it was at that level. Nothing has happened. So the subnational, association of what do you call it, of energy, you have to push the federal government to also do its own part. As much as you do for the state, if the federal government doesn't solve the problem of transmission, we can't move forward. But even inside the discourse also, since we handed over the discourse to private sector, we are not building injection substation. We are supplying customers, most new customers, on direct 330-415. Now, direct 330-415, all those ones, either direct or is a mixture, is a problem because once there is rain or there is any weather problem, it is the 33 kV breaker of TCN that becomes the primary protection. That's providing protection to people's house. Such kind of arrangement cannot provide a stable system. No way. It cannot provide a stable. So, as you are working towards creating a system where there will be feeders that maybe will be taken over, we have to also work towards providing protection on all those connections that are on 33 kV 415 direct connection. I think I need to stop like that. Thank you very much.
Mr. Usman, thank you very much. That was very detailed and insightful. We know definitely, we have an idea where the problem lies now. We do hope that the new unbundling of TCN, which has led to the NISO, the TSP, all would bring a bit of succor, a bit of relief to the market, and hopefully appropriate investments would come into the sector. Having said that, we're very lucky to have our 2 DISCO MDs here. I think this is one of the greatest moments for me. I've never had them in the same room at the same time. So I will start with you, Folake. From a distribution perspective, what are the most pressing technical challenges in ensuring reliable electricity supply to consumers in Lagos? Specifically, how do metering network reliability and customer service contribute to the problem?
All right. If I just, so I'm clear your question, what are the things that are causing the technical challenges?
Yes.
The second part, I didn't get the second part.
Yes, and specifically, how do metering network reliability and customer service contribute to the problem?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ibn Mohammed. Good afternoon, everyone. It's really indeed my pleasure to be here. I'd like to thank the Commissioner for putting this summit together. So I'll just go straight into your question. I think that if you just listen to all the presenters from the beginning of the Energy Summit, one thing that is critical for us in the power space is we know that we have major liquidity issues. And the impact of having those major liquidity issues is we're not able to enhance or even develop the infrastructure further. And that has a direct impact on the technical challenges in the sector. So there's one thing for you to improve your infrastructure so that you can wheel more energy, but the existing infrastructure needs to be maintained regularly, not reactive. It has to be done routinely. You have to also be proactive in your maintenance so that you have minimal downtime. So of course, if you don't have liquidity in the market or you're not able to attract investment that would allow you enhance your infrastructure or even improve the current infrastructure, the result is what you see today. So that's the underlying challenge in the sector. And of course, it cuts across everything. So I think he said it. He spoke about 33 kVA. There's a reason why they're putting customers directly on 33 kVA. Protection is compromised. So all of that, if there was enough funds for them to, radiate new power transformers, they would need to do that. And of course, that translates obviously to metering. I think you spoke about metering. Naturally, customers want to be assured, at least they want to be confident about what they are consuming, and they want to feel like as if they're paying for what they're consuming. That's from the customer perspective. From the distribution company perspective, you want to be able to account for your energy, and you want to be able to collect that energy as and when due so that we can remit, obviously, to the value chain. And as such, the same liquidity challenges that exist in the business, if that fundamental is not sorted out, the distribution companies are not able to put in that metering infrastructure as and when required. And of course, that leads to, of course, customers not being very happy or being very pleased. And now, even when the distribution companies have done that investment from a metering perspective, I'll talk about areas in my network, and I'm sure Madam Rekiat will have the same challenges, where you have over 90% metering in a location that is a band-aid location that they're getting power of 20 hours. Because of the cost and because of the fact that they have to pay, you then have challenges of people having to also steal. And of course, when there's theft, the discos have to, of course, put in revenue protection schemes, which will also kind of make the customer not feel very pleased. So it's a dicey one, but with what Lagos State is doing now, what I hear is they're doing things that's going to attract investment. There are opportunities that will open up with the different programs they're coming up with. And that is what is critical, and I think even Larry said that. Once potential investors or current investors can see the line of sight of how they can make money from the transaction, then even the potential investors or bankers are willing to put in funds into the distribution company space or even into the power space, because the truth is that the product is required and is needed. But if we don't sort out that fundamental issue that would eliminate the liquidity challenges that exist, we will continue to have a lot of these technical issues, whether on the commercial side, whether on the technical side, whether on the customer experience side. So for me, once we can sort out that fundamentals, I think we're good to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. At least we know where most of the issues are on your side of town. Mrs. Momoh, I have just two brief questions for you. The first one has to do with what are the practical steps to reduce the high rates of energy, electricity theft, and improve revenue collection? And what is the role of community engagement in improving distribution network reliability?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Just like my sister, I would also like to thank the commissioner and the organizers of this program. So back to your question, sir. Energy theft is a big problem in the industry. I must be very frank. And unfortunately for us, in Eko, for instance, if somebody steals lights in Lekki and the same person steals lights in Surulere, they are different. And where we have majority of this theft is around the eyebrow area. I don't want to mention their names specifically now. And we keep having a reoccurrence of people stealing the same people. And when you want to persecute them, they come back begging, and because of people that are involved, most of the time you don't want to name and shame them. So another aspect of energy losses that we also encounter is vandalism. We have a lot of vandalism issues. We have cases where people go into our network and even uproot live cables, not just cables that are abandoned or cables that don't have supply. Then we also have the issue of metering gap. And those three, they are contributing immensely to the energy loss in Eko, for instance. When it comes to the metering gap, it is true that if you meter out your customer does not mean that the losses will reduce drastically. But on the other hand, if you follow the metering standard, there's no how your losses will not reduce. For instance, before now in Eko, we have meters installed under the stairways, you know, in kitchens, bedrooms. But we have a metering standard now that is very robust, such that all our meters are installed on the pole or high up on the wall, such that we don't require the customer's access, you know, to discover whether there's bypass or not. So once you drive on the street and you turn left or right, you're able to see the meters high up. And that has helped to reduce our losses, commercial losses especially drastically. Even after the increase in band A, our PPM was around 5 billion, 6 billion. But today, to the glory of God, we are collecting about 8 billion from just PPM, just by that singular act of ensuring that the metering standard of ECO is being complied with. Then when it comes to the technical aspect, you will agree with me that we have a lot of tattered network with tattered infrastructures within the network. So we are also trying to see how we can replace some of those obsolete network, like tattered aluminum conductor or aluminum conductors that are not the regular size. So we've tried to replace some of them, and those are some of the ways that we think ATC and C losses can be reduced. And of a truth, we have drastically reduced ATC and C in ECO. Well, for instance, before privatization, it was around 40%, 38%. But by the end of last year, we ended our ATC and C with 20% ATC and C. And in January this year, we started with 16% AC and C. So you will agree with me that all the initiatives that we have put in place have really helped us to reduce our ATC and C losses. So the only solution to ATC and C losses in the real sense is actually technology. So if you have smart meters, you know, installed in your network, and you have a robust metering standard, there's no how your ATC and C will not reduce. So by the time you are able to have these smart meters and the AMI, advanced metering infrastructure, you can do analysis on a regular basis, which can give you a lead as to where these losses are being huge. And as a result of that, you can quickly plug into that and ensure that such areas are blocked. I think, thank you very much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard across the value chain from generation. You have heard that where the options are, that is where 60% of the investment goes. We have a lot of gas in the country and we need to utilize it. But in Lagos State, we have also introduced renewable energy aspects into this. In fact, if you notice, if you're driving on the roads at night now, you'll see a lot of improvements on the illumination because we've gone into solar street lighting. And it has improved on a lot of our bridges and our roads. And we hope to deploy across the state. On the transmission side, we're welcome to power coming in from the grid, but we know what the problems are, and we're hoping to bring appropriate investments in. Our law basically supports investors. If you look at it, you have no doubt that we are interested in doing this and getting a good job, and getting to do a good job of it. Our distribution aspects, we believe a lot of work needs to be done in that aspect. We obviously know they are the last mile, they collect the tariff. It's important for us that leakages are reduced. We want to make sure we have 100% metering. It's very important to us that our regulation also supports enforcement so that they make sure revenue is well collected. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to our panelists, and we thank you very much for your time.
This one is for Madame Folake Soetan. Please put your hands together for her. This one is for Engineer Fadare. Thank you so much for your contribution here today. Thank you for moderating this session. This one is for Mr. Usman Mohammed. Thank you so much, sir. Your contribution is truly immense. This one is for Madam Rekiat. Thank you so much. In depth indeed. And the final one is for Professor Barth, Nnaji. Thank you so much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for them like you really did enjoy this session. May we come together for the group picture?
A group picture.
Please
You
step
will
forward.
agree with me, it's been quite engaging. And our panelists and, of course, the moderator has been
Sir,
able
please
to
hold
do
on to your plaque.
justice.
Let him have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do
Can
we
we
have a
please
smile on their
applaud them?
faces? All right, thank you.